Good morning, YouTube. This is Johnny. I was looking at my YouTube channel. It's been 2 or 3 days since I made a video, and I thought I would make a video since it's a Sunday morning. As you know, usually when my wife leaves for church on Sunday, I tend to make a video because I can sit here in the dining room and where I can spread the books out. Down the lower level it's kind of dark and kind of gloomy, and I don't have as much space to spread things out, and the lighting is pretty bad. But up here on the first floor of the house, there's windows all around me and there's a light above me, and this is usually where I sit to write in my diary. I'm on page 335 for the year 2023. Coming to the end of another month. We're going into the 5th month. Pretty soon we'll be halfway through the year. And so yeah, it's April the 23rd, 2023. It is 9:01 on a Sunday morning. It is cold and cloudy outside. It's supposed to be cold all week, which is not good for tulip time. Here in Holland they have the tulip time, but my wife says it's going to be on the 2nd week of May, because that'll be the first full week in May. So but when tulip time, if you want to know what tulip time is, Tulip Time Festival, just go on the internet and type it in. It's one of the big events, festivals in the United States. Thousands of people come here to Holland, and usually people who live here in Holland don't go anywhere because it's so crowded. Anyway, I thought what I would do in this video is that at first I thought I might show you used books, but I'm not in the mood, so I just thought I would just ramble basically and just show you some new books. Well, they're not new, some are used, that I got in the mail, and what I've been reading, and just share my book life. Yeah, it's like this morning before I made the video, I said, what am I going to tell people in my video? Well, and I repeat this, maybe I'm kind of obsessed with it, is growing old. I'm going to be 71 years old this coming August, and I'm sure some of, if not most people who watch my videos either are working or have careers, or they have families or relationships. I mean, now I'm married, we have 3 grown children who are married, and we have 8 grandchildren, and as you know, our oldest son lives down the street, Caleb John, and his wife Emily, and our 2 little granddaughters, Josie Joy and Coralie, and their little dog Ollie, which we see often. And so I'm not really out in the world. As you know, watching my videos, I'm kind of an introvert, kind of a hermit type. I'm social, I'm friendly, I'm not antisocial. Since I was a child, I've always been kind of the kind of person that you find on the playground who's sitting off in some dark corner. Anyway, I thought I'd just ramble. As I've mentioned, I noticed as I've gotten older I ramble a lot. But I just would share with you some books. Now, I got this book in the mail last week. It's Pierced by Love. Divine Reading with the Christian Tradition by Hans Boersma. I showed you a couple of years ago, Hans Boersma. He did a book on the Vision of God in a Christian tradition, which I really enjoyed. Seeing God in the Christian Tradition, really an excellent book. And then he did a book called Heavenly Participation, and he did a book, 5 Things Theologians Wish Biblical Scholars Knew. I really like Hans Boersma, so I've been reading this, Pierced by Love, in the mornings, on Lectio Divina, Christian reading. It's just a great book if you're into the spiritual discipline of Christian reading the Bible. So I highly recommend it. And then I got, the same day that book came, I got this book in the mail, Psychonauts, Drugs and the Making of the Modern Mind by Mike J. As those who watch my video know that I am into psychedelics, the history of psychedelics, LSD, mescaline, cannabis, drugs. When I was a young man in my high school and 20s, I was into psychedelics and cannabis. As you know, I am all for the legalization of marijuana, even though I think there are some dangers. I personally wouldn't smoke marijuana right now because it would probably freak me out. But this came in the mail. Mike J., he wrote a book on mescaline, which I might buy in the future. I collect books on psychedelics, history of drugs, cocaine, opium, morphine, LSD, cannabis, caffeine. So I got this in the mail. I came across it. I was looking at, this is published by Yale University Press. And I was looking at Yale University Press books, and this came up and I immediately ordered it. And I've been reading it. It's kind of interesting. So I got that in the mail along with Pierced by Love, Divine Reading with the Christian Traditions by Hans Boersma. So 2 new books. And then yesterday I got 2 used books in the mail. I was on the internet last week and I came across a book by Capote, Truman Capote, who wrote In True Blood. He wrote other short stories, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and he was a literary figure, I think, in the 80s, maybe 70s. And he wrote a book called Unanswered Prayers, which was an unpublished writings that he was working on this novel before he died, and they published some chapters from it. Anyway, one of those chapters that Truman Capote wrote was about these very wealthy, upper crust, high elite, rich people in New York City, and it was very scandalous. And after he published that chapter in a magazine, and people who read it were scandalized because he exposed their lives and they shunned him. But this is a book about it. Capote's Women, True Story of Love, Betrayal, and a Swan Song for an Heir by Laurence Leamer. So, as you know, I'm into Truman Capote and that his writings, his life, and I always find him an interesting character. So I bought this for my Truman Capote collection. I bought it used. It says here, reading on the flap, shocking true stories behind Truman Capote's never published final novel, Answered Prayers, the dark secrets, tragic glamour, and Capote's ultimate betrayal of the group of female friends he called the Swans. Then it goes on here, there are certain women, Truman Capote wrote, who, though perhaps not born rich, are born to be rich. Barbara Bay Bailey, Gloria Guinness, Marcella Angelita, Slim Hayward, Pamela Churchill, CZ Guest, Lee Radziwill, Jackie Kennedy's sister, that's who this is, Lee Razawell. They were the toast of mid-century New York, each beautiful and distinguished in her own way. Capote befriended them, received their deepest confidences, ingratiated himself into their lives. Then, in one fell swoop, he betrayed them in the most surprising and startling way possible. So I just kind of like books like this. And then I got this book along with this book. I got this book in the mail. I came across this on Amazon, Jerusalem, A City of the Book, by Marvin Mack and Benjamin Balint, with photography by Frederick Breener. And it says that in this enthralling book, Mack and Benjamin explore Jerusalem's libraries to tell the story of this city as a place where some of the world's most enduring ideas were put into words. The writers of Jerusalem, although renowned the world over, are not usually thought of as a distinct school. The writers of Jerusalem, although renowned the world over, are not usually thought of as a distinct school. Their stories are as Jerusalemites mites have never before been woven into a single narrative, nor have the stories of the custodians, past and present, who safeguard Jerusalem's literary legacies. That looked kind of interesting. So I got that in the mail along with this book. So those are new used books. And then I don't know if I showed you, I got this book too in the mail, Darkey Days, a memoir by Stanley Moore, about his early days as being one of the editors at Dalkey Press. So I think I showed you this book, Fifth Impossibility, Essays on Exile and Language by Norman Mina. So those are, and I'm still reading. I really got into Divine Days by Leon Forrest. As I've said, this is an African American classic, almost like a James Joyce Ulysses. It's just a monster of a book. I've been really enjoying it. I've read 457 pages, and it's 1,140 pages. So I got a lot to read, but I just sit there. Last couple of days, I've just been reading it nonstop. Read it in the afternoons into the evenings. So that's Leon Forrest, Divine Days. Highly recommend it. Now remember, I have a literary taste, and you might have a literary taste, and we might not really like the same kind of books, but just check it out, read reviews, look at it. Remember, it's a mammoth of a book. It takes some discipline, some focus to read it, but I've enjoyed it. I would recommend it, even though I know there are people who might not enjoy this kind of writing. I know my wife would never read this. My wife would not read any of the books I show you, but she reads all the time. She reads a couple books a week. And then, as I mentioned, around where we live, there are thrift stores, Action House, which provides. They have a grocery store for the poor. They provide clothing, furniture, food, all kinds of household items. They have provide meals, but they have a thrift store and they sell used books just down the street from where we live. It's probably about 3 or 4 minutes from where I live. And I always stop by there after I volunteer at the Book Nook, and Friday I stop by after the Book Nook. And somebody had donated a bunch of old books, really old books. I mean, like in the 1900s. And they put them in a special bookcase, and I went through them, and I found some that I bought. And these are vintage books, old books. which I normally don't buy. Now, if I see them really cheap, usually they're very expensive, but these were not expensive at all. And I'm not going to show you all of them, just the ones I bought yesterday. The ones I bought Friday. Yesterday was Saturday. The ones I bought Friday are still downstairs. I'm just going to show you the ones I bought yesterday. Because I went back, because I talked to the woman on Friday and she said she had not put all of them out, and I wanted to go back and see what she put back. See, this is just the one that she put out. And this is Ariel, The Life of Shelly by Andre Maurois. I have 4 other biographies of him. He wrote a book on Victor Hugo. He wrote, a biography on Victor Hugo. He wrote a biography on Balzac. He wrote a biography on Proust. And he wrote a biography on the great Prime Minister of England, Disraeli. But this is his biography on the poet Shelly. So I got this. This was only, I think, $2 or $3. Oh, here it is. It was $4. It's $4. Well, that's not bad. I looked at, usually go for about 10, maybe 20, these. This was published in, and they're all in great shape. This is published in 1924. And then this, The Literary Friends and Acquaintances by W.D. Howells. He was a very famous literary figure on the turn of the century. And these are his, let me see, look at it. Has a little, see, it goes here. This was published in 1900, and you look at, there's a photo of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who was an acquaintance and friend of Howells. And then it has it's a literary kind of biography, like contents, My First Visit to New England, Part 2, First Impressions of Literary New York, Roundabout to Boston, Part 3, Literary Boston as I Knew It, Part 4, Oliver Wendell Holmes. I just read a biography of his last year. Part 6, The Wight of Mr. Longfellow. Part 7, Studies of Lowell. Part 8, Cambridge Neighbors. Just about literary friends and acquaintances, kind of literary biography by W.D. Howells, very famous American writer. I have the Library of America, 2 volumes of his writings downstairs. Really nice book, very great condition. And then I bought this for $1 yesterday. This is, as you know, I collect books on New York City, and I didn't see this one until yesterday. But it's called Valentine's Manual of Old New York, 1926, edited by Henry Collins Brown. It's really, it has a lot of old photos. It's a really interesting book. It has old photos of old New York back in the turn of the century. And it has photos of very primary people of the Gilded Age, like the Vanderbilts, New York City during the Gilded Age in New York City. And it has just a history of New York in early 1900s. All these kind of old kind of things. It was only $1, and as you know, I collect books on New York, and it just looked like couldn't go wrong buying it for $1. So I got that. I'll probably stop by tomorrow after the book nook, see if she put any more out. In the morning, my wife and I are still reading Calvin's Institutes of Christian Religion, Volume 1. We've read over 100 pages for morning devotions, and reading Piety's Wisdom, a summary of Calvin's Institutes with study questions, and Value of Vision, collection of Puritan prayers and devotions. But I've been reading primarily in the mornings Pierced by Love, Divine Reading with Christian Tradition by Boersma. So I just thought I'd show you some new and old books. Hope you're doing well. It's a new week. Next Sunday will be the last week of last week of April 2023. I have another used book coming in the mail. I just told I have more vintage books downstairs and books I got from Goodwill and thrift store. I just wanted to stop and say hi. Hope you have a good reading week. Thank you for the new subscribers. Thank you for the comments. Do pray you're all doing well. Yeah, I start reading this Psychonauts. If you're really into the history of drugs, it's kind of interesting. I've always been interested in it. Until next time, wait a minute. I'll just say, hope you have a good reading week. Do pray you're all doing well. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the new subscribers. Have a good reading week. Until next time, bye.